Welcome to this new episode of Filmerds. I'm Henk.
I'm Sander.
I'm Pim.
And we've just seen Trainspotting 2.
Choose life. Choose Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and hope that someone, somewhere cares.
T2. The sequel to Trainspotting. I haven't seen the first movie.
I have, but it's been a very long time for me.
Yeah, for me too.
So I'm not the best
You don't
person
know the
to
Trainspotting lore, man.
Exactly. I'm not the best person to review this movie, but so...
Well, it offers a fresh perspective.
Fresh perspective too, yeah. But it kind of hinged on the first one a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think we should... I think we should in advance say this video contains spoilers, at least for the first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's
Because
fair enough.
you can't really talk about this movie without talking about the plot of the first.
Yeah, and we're not doing a spoiler review, so this is going to be the entire review because there's not a lot of spoil.
No, I guess.
Yeah, not really. Yeah, the only spoiler I can say, they're not better off at the end than they were.
They're still fucked up.
Yeah.
So
first off, for the people that have watched the first movie and they're continuing, I guess, the story, but 20 years later, like the 20 years that have passed to
in real life.
in real life. So you get to see the old band kind of getting back together.
Yeah.
Is it what you've hoped, thought?
Well, for me, I didn't really have any expectations for this. I mean, I'm not I've seen the first one, but I'm not a fan. So I don't know how it is with you. So I
really liked the first one, but it was... I expected a different kind of story from this one, from the second one. Based on the trailer, way more weird shenanigans and stuff. So kind of a repeat of the first one with... differences as in they aged and relationships aren't that good and they know they fucked up their life. Kind of was those still subjects in this movie, but I don't know, it hinged too much on the first one to really enjoy it. I think as in it's still a good movie and I still like it, but I think if they tried to make more of a separate story and not really just go back to the flashback to the past, it would be a better movie. Yeah, in my opinion. It would have been a better movie.
I think so. But I think that was a deliberate choice to make it kind of dependent on the first movie. Like it's not a real sequel in a sense. It's really like 1.5. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a continuation of... It's really a continuation of the story. I guess from what I've seen, and you see flashbacks in T2
to the first movie.
Yeah, that go back to the first movie, and they really psyched me to watch the first movie because that at least in my opinion looked like a fun adventure or kind of weird movie, and this one was really almost dark, and the characters were...
It was pretty dark.
Well, the first one gets really dark too.
Yeah.
Okay, but
the first one still takes the cake on
darkness.
fucked up levels.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I think it was pretty tame in comparison to the first one.
I mean, when I watched the first one, I was fairly young. I think it was like 13 or 14, and I remember it really it left an impression on me. Let's put it that way. It's pretty fucked up,
Right.
Yeah, we won't spoil the fucked up shit because you still have to see it.
Well, when I was watching it, and I was thinking about... Usually when I'm thinking about movies, when I'm watching movies, I know that I'm not really into the movie enough to just shut it off and watch the movie.
Yeah.
I was thinking that probably 20 years ago when you put out some kind of movie like this, people are really like, "Whoa, this is so edgy," but now with all the it's so
it felt
different,
a little edgy at times.
Yeah,
but I think
and now the new movie is like with all the stuff you see on the TV and in the movies, it's not that impressive or not as edgy as. Maybe the first one
I think
was.
the subject matter also kind of, because like I said, this movie is pretty tame compared to the first one, and the first one was really like a bunch of drug addicts and the whole trip and how fucked up it is. Mm-hmm. And this one is kind of like, okay, they're still fucked up, but they're not like going ape shit on drugs or whatever.
But I think it makes sense in the story, because in the story they're also like, even though they're still all fucked up and still kind of crackheads, they've tried to better themselves, and so they're not all out heroin addicts anymore. No. So there's less fucked up. Exactly. So like the levels of fucked up are like turned down a notch, and now the fucked upness comes more from the fact that they realize that they've kind of thrown away their lives, because they're all like in their late 40s now, and they've achieved nothing. They're still basically junks.
The same people. Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, it's still fucked up, but it's a different kind of fucked up, you know?
Yeah. Maybe less.
It's more crippling depression fucked up.
It's like they have a realization after 20 years, like, oh my god,
like
this is still happening and going on, and we should at least work on it. But then they have these old grudges against each other, and
well, I think grudge is a bit of an
understatement.
But
because Mark stole 16,000 pounds from the rest of the guys.
I was like, dude, spoilers for the first movie.
Oh wow, the sequel spoiling the first movie.
The sequel spoiling.
Who would have thought?
So, but I thought it was kind of, when I saw the trailer, I was more, well, I wouldn't say hyped, but
enthused or curious.
Because it was.
I have to say the trailer was very good.
The first trailer was, oh man.
The trailer was really epic, and then when you look at the entire movie, you think, okay, they just took out the best bits.
They really did
together, and
they really did.
I really liked the social media monologue from Hugh McGregor, but that was like.
That was the voiceover for the first trailer.
That was just one thing, and then.
But it was also kind of I won't call it fan service, but it was really like a nod to because it's the opening monologue of the first movie.
And the ending song, of course, in the second movie is the opening song in the first.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about, what did you guys think about the style and editing and cinematography?
Well, I think that the style and like the cinematography is kind of a continuation of the wacky style that was established in the first one, but it's just more it's kind of updated, you know. It looks way more stylish, because we were talking a little bit about the fact that this is shot digitally, and
I'm guessing, but
it looked like that. At least it looks good, you know. Whereas the original one, it was a low budget movie, and it looks kind of crappy if you look at it today. And I think that's kind of a fine little nuance that kind of separates the old from the new. That it really, like, the movie itself actually looks better, you know, 20 years later.
I thought it could have been, for what I've seen, the bits from the first movie and from what I've heard of the wacky style, I would have thought it would have been more artistic and weird. And I thought it was pretty... There could have been more expressive shots.
I mean, it's not like the Neon Demon or something where it's really a metaphoric or something. It's really, but I do think that the choices of shots that they made were kind of non-conventional. Like, it's not your traditional over the shoulder conversations, you know, stuff like that.
That's sometimes what I thought it would be more intoxicated in the movie, like every shot would have been a weird angle or
I guess that wouldn't have fit because the guys are pretty sober in this.
They're pretty sober. Right.
I think maybe that's a reason.
What did you think?
I liked it. That's it.
Yeah, for me, I liked it as well. Yeah,
I think so too, and I think that the way it looks in comparison to the first is kind of a good point. As in, well, the world has moved on; they haven't. That's it. So it's the same problem, only in a new coat of paint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but isn't this the? Would you think, because you were talking about it could have been another movie, but it's really a continuation of the story? Because a lot of sequels do that. Like some sequels try to get a really different story with the same type of characters and just well, we have established these characters, but we are going into another direction, and this is really we're still doing the same thing, and we're crowd pleasing the hell out of this movie because
I think those are more the big budget reboots, or because I think like a lot of stuff that is coming out right now that it's like a sequel is actually like a soft reboot. If you look at the Star Wars franchise, it's a new episode in the Star Wars franchise, but it's really not. They're kind of starting from scratch, but this is really like this is really a continuation.
Continuation, as in there's a lot of moments in the film where it's like, oh, remember when this happened back in the other movie, and it's kind of like, to me it feels kind of cheap. Like, okay, you could have made up a entirely new situation that kind of parodies or throws a comparison with the first situation,
and they even threw in shots from the first movie. Like mirror with the other, like this. This really happened in the first movie.
Well, I thought it was like in the trailer where Ewan McGregor gets hit by the car. Well, in the movie he doesn't really get hit; he just falls off. But he gets hit with the car, and that happens in the first one also.
And then he smiles at the.
I thought it was more like that. That some kind of weird situation were happening because he's back in his hometown.
Yeah,
and kind of the story would repeat himself. Only he would be older and the world would be different. So
I think those kind of parallels are kind of cool, but I guess I agree they kind of overdid it, because maybe it's also because people like you are they knew there's going to be people in the audience that haven't seen the first one, so maybe they try to kind of cover themselves in that regard with kind of show stuff from the old movie, but
you hope for like a guy that goes back to his 20-year-old material, like, oh, let's do something.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with
new
you.
Or something.
It kind of feels empty, as in nothing really. There's no.
It doesn't feel like a real world or like a real group of friends, because everything in those 20 years, that shit happened,
Yeah.
And out of everything they talk about, everything that happened 20 years ago over the period that the first movie covered, but nothing outside of that. So it doesn't feel.
They only
real,
say a couple of things like, "Oh, your mother died," or "I took over the."
Yeah, but that's also
blah,
something
blah, blah, and
that's something that he finds out during the events of this movie. That's not something that is already like something he went through or something.
Yeah, the only character who has an arc is Spud. I think that's one of the characters that really has a sort of progression, as in he picks himself up, he falls down again, and then he picks himself up again, and
he does something new,
but he still remains kind of the black sheep of the group, as in the scapegoat of the group.
That's true, but I think what you're saying is true, is that he's the only one with like a proper arc. He's a changed man by the end of the movie, and I think there's not a lot of characters that actually do change. I think
the rest
maybe
of them are just filled with regret at the end.
Yeah,
I think maybe that might be a point they're trying to make, because it's kind of a theme.
Yeah. The guy from jail, what's he called? Yeah, he gets kind of an arc, but I was thinking the same thing. Like the arcs are kind of missing.
More circles, like
exactly,
and more looping.
I really thought the beginning of the movie was like still getting me hyped up for what's gonna happen next, and then like past the middle point, I was like, okay,
To make a really bad comparison, probably sometimes it felt kind of like a Dutch movie. like they're building something, but then eventually they're not building something, and they're like characters that are really fleshed out. And I know it's more because it's a sequel to a movie, but sometimes I
think the danger was also like, because it's not just a sequel, but it's a sequel to a cult classic. You know, it's not like a big franchise with lots of lore. There's just not that much to build on, and then
the fans who get hyped for that movie are like the hardcore. I watch Trainspotting once a month fans.
Yeah.
So it's not.
I don't think they're really getting served with this movie.
No, because they're basically getting half a movie and then half the first.
Maybe this movie can ride the nostalgia wave for like I don't know.
They said it in the movie, like you're not here for a memorial, you're here for nostalgia.
Yeah.
And that's when they said it, I really thought like that this is obviously a. I know they're very self-aware.
2 hours, like fuck 2 hours. Maybe. I hope Danny Boyle was like, okay, it's just fan service and I'm just having fun with the material, and I want to show the audience how the characters would be now. But it could have, if that was his intent with this movie, it could have been more clearly spelled out, as in you're kind of watching a rerun of something that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You're older now, so why are you doing this?
Could have been a better story.
But I think that kind of felt that way to me. You know, it's really like, what the fuck are you doing here? You know, why are you watching the same movie twice? Asshole. You know.
And I really thought that the guys next to me that were kind of loud, I would have thought like, okay, they're like the normal fans for this movie, like
the Trainspotting fans.
Yeah, like drinking beers and Trainspotting was an awesome movie.
I don't know.
And then they left like 2/3 in.
I don't think that if the people portrayed in the first Trainspotting wouldn't have been the audience for Trainspotting, as in the movie still has pretty heavy topics and slow build-ups, and I don't think a bunch of druggy alcoholics would rather see John Wick 2.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Nothing against John Wick 2. But, you know, you catch my point. Like, they would watch Commando on Saturday, as in,
true,
instead of Schindler's List on a Sunday, for example.
Yeah, but I it's an interesting point, though, because I really don't know who this movie is for, then, you know?
Yeah.
Neither this one or the first one, because it's also not a very deep, intellectually stimulating movie or something.
We came across two gentlemen who watched the movie 20 years ago in the cinema, and we're now going as friends to the second one. So,
I think the first one has enough depth to be not your average movie, as in. Still handles some topics. I
don't know. Maybe I have to admit that it's been a long time, but it's also I was fairly young when I saw it. I only saw it once, so maybe I can't really judge it that well. But I don't remember it as like that. You know.
There are some grading decisions and things happening in the first one. So
you gotta rewatch it.
Yeah. Well, Filmerds Film Night, Frank.
Yeah, Filmerds Film Night.
Watch Lethal Weapon.
Body Cop movie, Lethal Weapon.
Mel Gibson. Yeah, I still haven't seen it, guys. Sorry.
So.
Yeah, well, for me,
if you really love the first one, you should do it purely for nostalgic reasons. I think.
But it was still fun. I think anybody who's seen the first one, I can recommend it to just see it. But it's not.
Don't expect the second impact.
No,
the first
it's not the second coming. You know,
it's not the second.
I think you should wait for the Blu-ray to see it at home. Or DVD.
As somebody who hasn't watched the first movie, I think I would have preferred watching the first movie, at least the first movie, and then maybe the second movie. But I think I would be more impressed with 20-year-old Trainspotting.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. From the bits I've seen in T2. I think I'm gonna watch the first one.
All right. So watch the first one. That's the conclusion.
Yeah, watch the first
one, and if you feel like
it's on Netflix,
wait for it
right?
to be on. Yeah,
it's on Netflix. At least. Maybe American Netflix.
All the Netflixes.
All the Netflixes.
Well, thank you for watching this episode of Filmerds. Like, subscribe for all new content, and we'll hope to see you or hear from you. Listen to our podcast.
Oh yeah! Shout out to our listeners. Woo!
And we'll see you soon. Bye.